We're all used to seeing interviews with celebrities and politicians, but sometimes interviews with truly evil people have been caught on tape. From a child who is one of the biggest psychopaths you could ever imagine, to a billionaire who admitted to doing something terrible when he thought the cameras were off. Beth Thomas. You may have heard of Beth Thomas before. She was the subject of the documentary Child of Rage. This is said to be one of the scariest documentaries that you should never watch alone. At a very young age, Beth appeared to be a psychopath. She harmed her brother on many occasions, and would also try to take her brother and parents' lives. The scary thing is, if you asked her about this, she would admit to it in a very calm manner. She would not even pretend that she did not want to harm her family.
Why is your brother afraid of you?
Because I hurt him so much.
Okay.
Her interview is enough to send chills down your spine. It's a very weird juxtaposition seeing such a cute young girl say these terrible things.
At nighttime, what do your parents do to your door?
Lock it shut.
Why do they lock it shut?
Because they don't want me to hurt John. Big sharp ones.
And what do you want to do with those knives?
Kill John and Mommy with them, and Daddy.
Beth's parents even had to lock her door shut at night. This was in case she got out and tried to harm her brother John. She would also often go into the kitchen to get sharp knives. She would want to harm her parents and brother with these.
And what happened to your brother? Tell me about it.
His head hurt real bad, but his chin, he had to have stitches in it.
John even had to go to the hospital many times because Beth tried to take his life. Now, despite her scary interviews as a child, she went through years of therapy, and it's now said that Beth is totally normal and nice. But do you believe people can change that much? Or do you think that even now she still may be slightly dangerous? Elizabeth WETTLAUFER. For many years, Elizabeth WETTLAUFER was a hospital nurse. She would care for elderly patients in the hospital and also sometimes at their homes. But she claimed that a voice kept telling her to give her patients too much insulin. She would then watch in the night as the patients groaned and moaned, and eventually they would sadly pass away.
Whatever it wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. And when I would do it, afterwards I would hear like a laughter in my tail.
She kept giving her patients too much insulin on purpose, and she took many lives. Eventually, she checked herself into a psych ward. After interviews with her at the psych ward, they got very scared. The psych ward then called the cops who arrested Elizabeth. In this interview, she explains how the voices told her to take these people's lives.
Because part of me had started to believe that it was the devil, and part of me thought it might be God as a purpose through my life.
At first, she believed this was God talking to her, but she then got worried as she thought it may be the devil instead. The scary thing is, before she checked herself into the psych ward, the hospital planned to move her into the kids ward. This means she would have been responsible for giving kids insulin, and she likely would have given these kids too high a dose on purpose and taken their lives. Thank goodness she came to her senses and checked herself in. Otherwise, she could still be doing this today undetected. She blamed what she did all on the voice inside her. She said the voice was not in her head, but in her stomach. And after she would take her patients' lives, the voice would roar with laughter.
Whatever it wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. And when I would do it, afterwards I would hear like a laughter in my tail.
I'm just so glad that she told people about this before she was moved to the kids ward. There is no telling how many kids' lives her or the voice may have ended. The span of her activities went on from 2007 to 2016. In 2017, she was sentenced to 8 concurrent life terms in prison. Robert Durst. Robert Durst is heir to the billion-dollar real estate empire, the Durst Corporation. His brother Douglas runs the company, but Robert took a different path in life. He is believed to have taken 3 people's lives. This includes his first wife, Kathleen, also his long-term friend, Susan Berman, and most recently his neighbor, Morris Black. In 2015, he was the subject of the documentary The JINX. He did many interviews for this documentary, but it was only on his last interview when something very scary happened. In all of his interviews, he claimed he was totally innocent. But after wrapping up the final interview, he used the bathroom. However, he did not realize that his microphone was still recording him. The microphone picked up him talking to himself.
There it is. You're caught.
It appeared he was going over the interview and saying how much of a disaster it was. The recording ends with him saying, "What the hell did I do?" He then pretty much admits to taking the 3 people's lives.
What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course.
Soon after this documentary was released, he was arrested yet again. He is now being held inside an LA jail, and his trial will begin on May 17th, 2021. Alonso Perez. This footage is supposed to be of an interview with Alonso Perez. He was suspected of taking another man's life. He was arrested for this and taken into a room at a police station for questioning. He was left alone for some time before questioning, as is the norm, but during this time he looks around at the ceiling. He then uses his body weight to break his handcuffs off the desk. For some time he pretends that he is still chained to the desk while he plans an escape. After thinking for some time, he climbs onto a chair. He then removes a square drywall panel from the ceiling. He takes out some insulation and climbs into the ceiling. Amazingly, he was able to drop down into an empty hallway, and then he quietly left using a back door. It's pretty amazing that someone so dangerous was able to escape so easily from a police station. Thankfully, 4 days later, he was recaptured by police. Only that time, after he was arrested, they made sure to not leave him alone. The Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez is better known as the Night Stalker. He was a maniac who operated in the 1980s in Los Angeles. He took 15 people's lives, and in his trial he was famous for showing no remorse and also praising Satan. He also did various scary interviews where he admitted to being evil.
You admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another, are we not? Serial killers do on a small scale what governments do on a large one. They are a product of the times, and these are bloodthirsty times. Even psychopaths have emotions if you dig deep enough, but then again, maybe they don't.
Stephen McDaniel. In 2011, Stephen McDaniel was giving a news interview about a missing woman. Lauren Giddings was his neighbor, but she'd been gone for many days and no one knew where she was. The two were classmates at Mercer University. But as Stephen was giving the interview live on TV, he was given some scary news. He was told that Lauren's remains had been found by cops. No one suspected Stephen had anything to do with it while he was giving the interview. But when he was told this news, he totally freaked out.
I mean, we just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's how we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
His entire mood changed and he was so panicked he had to sit down. This made viewers and police suspect him, and they were right. In a police interview, he confessed that he'd been spying on Lauren for several months, and eventually he had broken into her house and taken her life. The creepy thing is, if you speed up his police interview, he does not move a muscle. It's safe to say Stephen McDaniel is one of the creepiest people I've ever seen. Edward Edwards. Edward Wayne Edwards is better known as the Hook Man. He was a con artist who also took many lives. When he did these terrible things, he never even wore a mask. And that's because he wanted to be famous or infamous. In 2010, in an interview, he confessed to doing all of these bad things.
His shoulder right down here easy, and I pulled the trigger. And it was a single shot. And So I put another shell in it and pulled it, the trigger, and he fell on over.
The eerie thing is how calm he is talking about what he did.
I deserve it, and I want the death penalty.
You don't want to be in prison for a long time on everything else that's going on.
Right, I'm not a healthy man.
But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which interview in this video was the scariest. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. There are some more videos you may like on screen right now. Leave a like if you got scared, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.